It's a real fake news update, not brought to you by Pfizer. We're looking at the happenings in the Maha arena, and we did get a little piece of good news when we saw that the hepatitis B shot has now officially been removed from the recommended childhood vaccine schedule. Now, of course, who's going to be freaking out about this? Well, every single news media, mainstream media outlet is having a panic attack right about now. We'll start with The Guardian. Here we go. Experts fear. There's the word fear. Oh my God. The experts are in a state of fear for U.S. childhood vaccine schedule after the hepatitis B guideline has changed. Uh-oh, this can't be good for the donor class, the pharma class. Okay, let's see what happened here. So the entire U.S. childhood vaccine schedule is now open for scrutiny. Experts say after government vaccine advisors took up discussions of the safety and the efficacy of the vaccines and their components and changed its recommendations on one crucial prevention. Several of the vaccine advisors are longtime anti-vaccine activists, and they were all chosen by Donald Trump's controversial health secretary, Robert F. Kennedy, after he fired the previous advisors in an unprecedented move to enact dramatic changes to U.S. vaccination policy. Kennedy has been a frequent critic of vaccines. And of course, you guys know, been following our show, you know that they haven't really done much of anything. These are very, very mild changes. Firing people and not putting them in jail is very mild. You always want to get a new team in place. So they did make a huge deal over the fact that he fired everyone, but none of them had to account for their crimes. What were their crimes? Their conflict of interest. They're knowing what they were pushing. They're knowing that what they were voting for every time they voted to put another product on the market that they knew weren't tested and that they were personally making profit off of. All that's illegal activity. None of them are going to jail. So The Guardian does not fully understand that there aren't really too many changes happening here. But let's look closer at this one. So this panel, again, that was put in by RFK, it wasn't a consensus here. So you certainly had people against this in the panel, but enough of them voted to make this a go. And so the landmark vote, it changes the hepatitis B recommendation. They're saying it will create confusion and access issues for family. What would be confusing about it? Maybe the families will ask questions. I don't know. Like, why would it not be recommended anymore? Maybe newborn babies don't need a shot in their body of something that's preventing an STD, which their parents and their mother has already tested negative for. Maybe they don't actually need it. That might get confusing for families who've been used to just following the rules and not asking questions. So yes, it could be confusing, as The Guardian puts it. It's really devastating to have seen what unfolded today, said Susan Wang, who is a pediatrician and a former lead for the prevention of hepatitis B at the CDC. So she's just not in a good place right now, because her job was to push as many vaccines as possible for the bottom line of what her deal was with the CDC when she used to work there. Okay, it's also laying the groundwork for destroying the rest of childhood immunization schedule. Yeah, you think? Of course it is, because you got to look at why there's 72 vaccines on the childhood schedule. That would actually be a good thing. Now, Robert Malone, as we know, who actually invented the mRNA technology that was put into the COVID vaccine and now being tried to be put into the flu vaccine. He's the vice chair right now at ACIP and an outspoken critic of vaccines. He raised doubts about the vaccination schedule, calling it the elephant in the room on Friday, which is an understatement. It certainly is an elephant, a big fat elephant in the room. The hepatitis D decision is a major misstep, he said. Oh, this isn't Robert Malone. This is another guy. His name is Oft, who decided not to show up to the panel meeting And he said, I'm not even going to be, I don't even want to be in the same room with Malone. But he said the virus lives on surfaces for a week, making it a concern for anyone who comes into contact with it. But young children are especially vulnerable to long-term illness and death. There's no doubt in my mind this shortens children's lives. Okay, because you feel like it does. Okay, well, because there's no studies that say this even does anything for kids. By the way, no study. There is no study available that says that the hepatitis B prevents children's deaths and shortens their lives. It does not. There is no study. So this is just feelings. This is just feelings. Why would I be a part of that? He said. It's a parody of public health. It's a clown show. No, I think it's a clown show that's being exposed. I think that's what's happening here. When you have these pharmaceutical companies that have liability waivers ever since the mid 80s, they've gotten to get away with anything they want to put on the market and not be held accountable for it. And they can hide any data they want, and everybody has to go along with it, including the media pundits who are lockstep and barrel. They're there to promote this and push it every step of the way. That is the clown show. That is the clown show. So recommending new restrictions on established vaccines with no evidence of harm means any vaccine is now up for debate. You think? Yeah, maybe it should be up for debate. That might be a good thing. That might be a good thing. Well, let's see what they did on Face the Nation on CBS when they brought Dr. Scott Gottlieb as he's very, very alarmed, very, very alarmed. The FDA policies would require annual flu vaccines to prove that the vaccine actually reduces influenza. Why would they have to prove it? I can see why he's so concerned here. All right, take it away.
We saw a big sell-off in biotech stocks following these reports that the FDA, which you used to run at the first part of the Trump administration, is now going to require one study to clinch approval of vaccines. You were one of the former commissioners who put out this really extraordinary editorial in the New England Journal of Medicine, arguing that the FDA and top vaccine regulator, Dr. Vinay Prasad, are changing policies in a way that's going to slow down new and better vaccines. What specifically is the problem you see? Because this isn't just Hep B. This is the vaccines of the future, you're saying, just won't be created.
Right. So Vinay Prasad, who is the head of the Biologics Center, also oversees the vaccine division. He also has been appointed the head of biostatistics, the chief medical officer of the agency, and the chief scientific officer. So he occupies a lot of positions. Put out a memo saying that they're going to do away with or move away from what they call immunobridging studies. These are studies that allow you, for well-validated vaccines like the flu vaccine, to be able to demonstrate each year that the vaccine, the new vaccine that's formulated against a circulating strain, can elicit antibodies that are effective against that particular strain, and that could be the basis of approval, rather than requiring new outcome studies every year to prove that the vaccine actually reduces the incidence of influenza. For established vaccines where we know that antibody production is a good correlate for immunity, this has been a long-standing practice. We do it for flu vaccine, we do it in COVID certainly, we do it for things like pneumococcal vaccine, the vaccine for pneumococcal disease, where we look at serotypes, circulating bacterial serotypes. This allows us to update vaccines as these viral and bacterial strains change and as the composition of the strains change.
So what he's talking about is this speed of science, that we should have a free pass to move at the speed of science. You guys remember that one? That was during COVID. So he's saying we got to keep having that luxury. But when we have to test the damn thing to see that it actually works on the thing, that's going to hold us up. That's what he's saying. And we can't afford that. Our shareholders can't afford that pause. Not to mention, if the thing doesn't work, then we can't go make money off it. And we have to go figure out how to make it work. And the big problem and the conundrum, we should understand by now, if you guys spent any time during COVID figuring this out, we took some time figuring this out. We talked about the fact that you can't keep up with the new strain. It's impossible. By the time you get the previous strain done with and locked in, there's a new strain. And that's the problem with every single one of these viruses. That's the problem with every flu season, every year. None of them are actually going to the thing that it's saying it's going to. What he's saying is we can't stop the speed of science, or we're not going to be able to do the thing we want to do, which is get as many of these products out as freaking possible. We can't do that if there is this gap of time where we have to test the thing on the actual thing. not on the previous year, but the one right now. And that's going to take too effing long. So trust the science. That's the other thing he's saying without saying it, but we understand the methodology here. It's trust the science, it's speed of science, and it's all those stuff. You guys know we're all in this together. No one way to do it, and no complaints. That's it. So that's the damage control. I don't even call this damage control. This is just the state decided narrative. And also part of that article, which you guys still understand, is that there's this weird assessment that this current team led by RFK Jr. is going crazy with all these changes. He's not. So any of you guys watching this that are concerned that our entire schedule is being uplifted right now, it's not. These are little tiny baby steps. And guess what? You still can get all of these jabs. They're not going off the market. The recommendation might be going away, but they're not going off the market. You can get as many jabbity jabs as you want for your little kid. You can get all 72. You can get 10 on one day in some cases. However, if you're obsessed with this, go for it. No one's going to stop you from pricking your kid 72 times if that's what you want to do. The recommendation might not be there as strong, and that's at least a little baby step. Now, here's the part of the story that is more concerning for us, because we know that Dr. Marty Makary, who has been the FDA commissioner, who can go around and say the things we're saying and be more clear about it, that these things don't work, that hepatitis B should have nothing to do with the newborn baby, period. He should be saying that. He's not. Look what he is saying. And this is concerning because he's taking these little tiny, very delicate steps, and it's actually having the opposite effect. And I wonder if that is on purpose or if it's sloppy. You guys decide. Is this on purpose or is it sloppy? Check it out.
We want to prevent it. Rates have come down significantly over the recent decades, and that's because of hepatitis B vaccination and best practices around awareness. I want to see kids protected from hepatitis B.
So he's saying that the statistics are completely, we're totally understand that kids having this is obviously a good thing. He just wants to take out the recommendations. But he's saying, no, we're not challenging the thing itself. We're saying it's cool. So the problem with that, and this is what the reporter is going to get him on, is you can't say the thing is cool and say, we'll see. She actually pushes back on this because it doesn't really make sense. If you're saying the thing is actually good to go and it's totally fine, this is going to be the response to that.
CIP is looking to pull back those recommendations on the medication, on this protocol that's had that 40-year track record of safety and efficacy. In your mind, how does that square with your
safety and efficacy? Ha. Okay. But no, 40-year track record. She got that part right. 40 years of no challenging. Not just do whatever you want. Just whatever. Get as many of these out as possible. No one will challenge it for 40 years. Yes. Okay. Here it comes.
Push to speed up drug approvals?
I don't see it as pulling back. I see it as providing a nuanced and balanced perspective where the evidence supports hepatitis B vaccination, that is in moms with hepatitis B positive tests or the test has not been done and it's unknown, versus a delayed recommendation. I think they're talking really about the nuance. Ultimately, the government is not your doctor, and we think physicians who know this literature can and will continue to make good recommendations.
But you're going to set the guidelines and the recommendations, and doctors generally defer to the government recommendations, correct?
We'll see what they decide.
We talked.
So yeah, she's saying you're setting recommendations, but you're saying we just want to kind of stay out of it. You guys can decide for yourself. So I believe this very nuanced approach might be having the opposite effect, because it looks like he's trying to do two things at once. He's trying to say, no, do the thing. Do it all yourself. We're just not going to force you to, but, we don't want to intervene. So we're going to stay over here, but we're not going to actually recommend it. And we know that you guys follow recommendations of the FDA and CDC. That's what you do. You follow those things. So it's kind of, rather than what he could have just said, and I think we know why he didn't, but what he could just say is these things have absolutely no benefit to a little kid. If you know that the mother has come up positive, with Hep B, that would be the only reason. That would be the only reason to use it. That's it. That would be it. Why can't you just say that? That's the only reason you would get that vaccine to a little kid if their mother was positive for Hep B. That's it. There's no other reason. But he can't say that, can he? But the narrative is crumbling around all of these vaccines. We know the previous CDC director has put this out. This is huge. Former CDC director calls for removal of mRNA COVID-19 vaccines. And he says, I really would like to see the mRNA vaccine used curtailed, the use of it curtailed. And personally, I like to see it eliminated because I think there's too many unknowns. That is Dr. Robert Redfield, and he was in an interview with Epoch TV, and he said that very clearly. And he's a former CDC director who now, with his expertise and experience, has said publicly, this is no good. It needs to be pulled off the market, period. And it's too bad more people in the current administration can't be this, have this much conviction, because none of them are really doing it. They only did it during the campaign trail. They're not doing it right now. And this is not going to make any news because the fake news doesn't want you to know about this. And that's why we're telling you. Jimmy Dore says, it's no big deal. It's just the former head of the CDC saying mRNA vaccine should be pulled off the market. Now, everyone I know in Hollywood can go back to pretending this didn't happen, that they weren't lied to on a scale their brains can't comprehend. And anyone who questions COVID vax is a bad person. And like we say here, guys, don't ask questions. Stop asking questions. Let them do their job. This is it. Go back to the way it was. COVID's in the rearview mirror. Nothing to talk about. Nothing to see here. And that's it. That's your real fake news update. Not brought to you by Pfizer.